All right. And let's see if this is going to cooperate. Yeah, it looks like it's going to do it today. Welcome, everybody, to our uh, Tuesday morning mastermind. We get to have the opportunity today to be trained by none other than Bill Predebon. He is a great guy, and to talk about being a product of the product. Which is what he's going to train us on today. Bill is someone that he's done real estate. He has done business. He is an entrepreneur. He is a just an energetic guy. He tries to live a healthy and strong life. He tries to do the things that he's been taught to do that will make life better. And that's what he's here to teach us today. Bill, good morning. How are you, sir?
Hey, Ron. I'm awesome. How are you, buddy?
Fantastic. So glad you're with us this morning, Bill. Always look forward to your training.
Oh, thank you. I really look forward to doing it. It is a pleasure and an honor, of course. Volume is good. Everything is good.
Yep. Sounds great.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for that awesome introduction as well. Very, very kind words that you offered up there. So I appreciate that very much. It's always a pleasure to hear your voice and to talk to you in the morning to prepare for this call. So thanks a lot. Good morning, folks. Welcome. It is the Tuesday after Thanksgiving week. So glad you're all here. Go ahead and I'm going to type in my cell phone number for you folks if anybody wants it and ever feels like reaching out for whatever reason. And for some of you, you have reached out to me before. That's awesome. Hopefully most of you I got back. I think there's a couple of you that it's possible if you've reached out to me or if you've texted or emailed or something, I'm not sure, and I didn't get back to you, just hit me up again or left me a message. Sometimes it gets buried and I miss it. And obviously I don't always have your number programmed in my phone, so it gets lost a little bit. So, if I haven't gotten back to you, I do greatly apologize. And I always try to. And I will tell you, I don't always have the answers or the insight you're looking for, but hopefully I can do my best to point you in the right direction or try to help out as best I can. So my number is, excuse me, my number is 760-533-3141. That's my personal cell. And I just put it up in the chat. As most of you know, if you would prefer, feel free to type in any questions, and topics that you want to discuss today, as far as anything you're thinking about that's on your mind, or that you're working through as a marketer, that you need help with, or just want to, fresh set of eyes on. You can interrupt me anytime with what I'm talking about. We've got 68 people. That's a little light. I did text my team this morning. I added a few new team members over the last couple of weeks. So hopefully, and some of them aren't even IMAs yet, but I did invite them to the call anyway, just to see what they're, so they can get a taste of it. But in any case, welcome. So today I'm going to talk a little bit, and I kind of touched on this before, but I'll talk a little bit more about product of the product, and what I think that looks like, kind of the myth around it, as well as becoming a product of the product, and how it can benefit you in your marketing, and what I think that I don't. Being a product of the product, in my opinion, does not mean you have to have even completed one deal by any means. And you definitely don't have to do over 100. That'll come in time and it'll benefit you. But I'll share with you how it's definitely not in my experience, it is not the end all to marketing. In fact, it's even the opposite, really. So, okay. If you guys can reach out to a few of your team members or your friends that are usually on the call in all of your markets, we're up to 72, but we should, as Michael says, get everybody on no IMAs left behind, right? So reach out to them. Let's get as many people as we can on this call. And so with that, I'll get started here. Get my notes. I will tell you guys, a lot of these trainings that we do, that I do specifically, they come from my experience, right? So every day I try to, in fact, every day I do, work the business, right? And I constantly am doing different things in the business based on the trainings that we have and based on the 4 money-making activities. And so, a lot of my all my trainings are derived from direct experience. And so I'm able to share that with you personally, from a personal standpoint, not just from a theoretical standpoint or one of what I've heard it's like or anything like that. It's from direct experience. So, when we think about product to the product, right, we'll get this a lot. You'll get it with your IMAs that enroll, and you've probably already gotten it before as they do come on board. And maybe even yourself, had that same mindset. And obviously you're adjusting that mindset and growing that mindset because you're here on this call now. But in the beginning, you may have been feeling like it was not possible to, I guess, if sell is the right word, but, introduce people to this opportunity, chase the marketing, work on marketing, or sell anything that, you haven't used before, or that you haven't done anything before, right? And a lot of times, if we think about this, we'll break it down a little bit, but a lot of times it's really an excuse, right? I don't want to, it's an easy out. It's an easy way to say, once I get a deal done, then I can start telling people about it, then I know that it works. And, my warm market and my, the people I'm going to be talking to are going to want to know what I've done. And, we start to think of these things automatically, like just instinctively. It's not even on purpose. It's not even that we're necessarily afraid. We don't even realize it, but it's an easy fallback. It's an easy way for us to make an excuse for how poorly we're marketing, not marketing at all, not doing well in the marketing, by saying that, hey, I just don't feel comfortable selling anything that I haven't done. If somebody asks me, I'll refer them over, but I'm not going to go out and market this product until I've done something. And then we take it even further, and we start to talk about how, people in our warm market, especially, some of the younger generation and stuff, we're talking about, and this is not news to anybody. We're going to get to some of the, I guess, tangible information here in just a minute as I set the premise here. But, especially with some of our warmer market or our friends and family, we allow that. And remember, it's all about what the trainers and the leaders are teaching you guys is that, and the mindset training is that we allow. It's not that it's true. It's just we allow the idea that we have that with our warm market, with our friends and family, that we are not successful if we haven't done a deal. That, until we do a deal, they're not going to join the group. And if I'm not going to be able to have credibility until I do a deal. And we're going to talk about, what it's like to do deals and what it's like. A lot of you guys are already doing these deals, so don't get me wrong. But even as you do more, or you bring on folks that aren't doing deals yet, how what that will mean to you. But it's definitely not. It's just not a truth. There's no truth to marketing without doing deals, right? Or without having some sort of credibility, if you will. And I know that most of you know this. So again, as we go ahead and if you got anything you want to type in, feel free. So listen, when I started in 2008, when I was with the old company, I remember when I saw the information, I was so headstrong on real estate. Like I never even, believe it or not, I didn't even really know about MLMs. I really didn't know about direct sales. I was ignorant to that market. Literally, I never really even, I've been exposed to it sort of, but I didn't even realize that's what it was. And I gave it no time. I wasn't interested ever, not because I thought it was a bad thing. I just wasn't interested. So I didn't even listen to it. And so when I was introduced to the old company, that what we know now as Renatus, and there was a marketing aspect, I'd seen it, but it wasn't on my radar at all. And the guy who introduced me to the company just listened to what I had to say. I mean, I told him, I'm going to go do real estate. This is what I'm going to do. I need to make money, and I need to make money fast. And so for me, becoming a product of the product was not on purpose. It wasn't like I was trying to do that in order to go market. I simply was doing it to make money. I didn't really see the value, or in fact, it wasn't the value. I didn't see the opportunity for what it was. Nobody really shared it with me. I didn't go to a Super Saturday. I didn't go to the meeting for the marketing. I went to the meeting to meet people, right? So I went right out and I decided that I was going to knock doors, as you've heard before, in order to find leads, because I didn't know how to find leads, and I didn't have any money to advertise for leads. I didn't really have resources. I had a little bit of money that I used from the loan that I got to buy the education. I had extra money so I could buy the default research, the website that gave me the in foreclosures list, right? And so I then went out and started knocking doors 4 nights a week. And if I remember correctly, I wasn't going to the meeting at all. When I got the education, I started out with the entry level product until I found the money for the full 20 grand. And so, but I still needed to make money. And in that entry level product, we had a wholesaling class, and we had the negotiations class. And so those were the 2 classes really that I listened to in the very beginning when I went to door knock. And I listened to them every single week, over and over and over again. I repeated those classes as I was doing the door knocking. And so I went ahead and I was fortunate enough to get a deal done. And I was it was a wholesaling deal. I was able to tie it up, and as you've heard before, and I actually sold it to a person in the group. And it was interesting because when I got the contract, I didn't have a buyer's list. I was very brand new. I didn't know anything really of what I was doing except what the education was telling me. So what I did know is that I had people back in the group that were real estate investors. So I assumed. So I took the deal back to the meeting. I went to a few more meetings, and I told people about the contract. And one guy's like, I want to buy the contract. And that's how I signed the contract, was, and wholesale that deal, was to someone in the community. And so, it's interesting is that, going to the meetings is by far one of the greatest things you can do for your real estate business ever. And most of you guys, I know, already know this, but, this is one of the reasons, I'm teaching you guys, and we all are, not just as IMAs, and many of you are brand new, and many of you are been around the block and 5-starred, and you have a team. But ultimately, the system is set up for you to be a team leader, to be a 5-star leader, to have a team, and to train them as well. And so, when people are giving you objections about coming to the meetings and going to the events and things like that, and all they want to do is real estate, the fact that the marketing side creates such an incredible real estate. I mean, if you listen to Christian Sadler's story, his relationships with all the people in Utah in the group there, and how many deals get done with, and it's not just Christian, it's so many others that are done inside the community. It's not a written rule. It's not a guarantee. It's none of those things, but it's just an organic environment that is created to facilitate real estate investing. And so if we're missing out on that and we're not engaging in that, it's just a big part that of the whole picture that would be missing. And therefore, for most people that don't engage in that weekly activity with other investors in Renatus, they're missing out on and it will take them longer, I think, to do deals or become a product of the product. The process in both marketing and in real estate will be longer and perhaps more difficult. So here's the thing. When we're talking about, I can't sell it without being a product of the product. And I know that, we've touched on this in trainings before, but, all of you are already doing this, right? If you're spending time in the education, then you are becoming a product of the product. Now, even essentials holders can become a product of the product. And you all know that there's velocity banking there. I get it. But what I'm really talking about is even without applying it, like imagine if there's a lot of people on the phone and a lot of people that you meet that don't have a line of credit, that don't have a loan. They don't own their house. They may own a car, but velocity banking is even out of their reach. If you listen to Christian George talk about, creating cash flow, there's got to be some cash flow created. And most people don't have cash flow. I mean, they are living beyond their means. They're borrowing against their credit cards already just to pay their bills. So, becoming a product of the product is literally studying the education. So I was talking to one of my guys the other day, and just because you watch a class or listen to class does not mean that you're becoming a product of the product. And what I mean by that is, it needs to be allocated time. Like I listen to it in the gym and it's going to sink in. But if I really want to study a class, like I'm going to be doing my very first 1031 with my California property, most likely. And so I've never studied the 1031 class yet, right? It's a pretty brand new class, relatively speaking. I've never needed it before, so I've never watched it. I've had no desire to watch a class I don't plan on using for a while. But now that I'm going to use it, I'm going to watch the class. But I promise you, I'm not going to watch the class in the gym, right? I'm not going to listen to it necessarily in the car. Now, I might do it as an extra, as an additional class that I'm listening to. But when I want to watch this class, I'm going to sit down in my office or in some atmosphere, in some way where I'm dedicated to listening and watching the class and taking notes, writing down questions, writing down action steps, and writing down key points. And then as I listen to it later on in the gym or in the car, then that's a different thing because it's going to be reiterating what I already have learned, but I'm going to actually study it. Now, if you're going to take a class and you don't even have a deal on the table, but if you literally watch the fix and flip for 12 hours and you watch the 2 days and you watch it more than once, you watch it 2 or 3 times, you could speak as an expert to some extent on fix and flip. You would totally understand it. Now, let me demonstrate. Like one of the cool things about the old company, and it's a double-edged sword because it's far greater now than it's ever been. But we were forced to go to class. If you wanted to utilize your tuition and get the most out of your money, we had to go to a live class. And the reason that is because it was not offered online. And so you had to sit through the class. And again, there lies some discipline, right? People would go to class and the environment out in the hallways was amazing, right? A couple thousand people at a hotel minimum, right? And classes breaking at different times, coffee in the hallway, bathrooms, social hour, restaurant bar, like all these things are out there. And you've got to sit through a 6-hour class. And a lot of it is the instructor telling stories, questions coming from other students, stuff you've already heard before. They're talking about escrow when you're in title already, so you don't really want to listen to the escrow part of the class, but you have to do it, right? And you have to stay disciplined and you have to watch the class. It's the same thing here. The difference was I was forced to be there. if I wanted to do this, I had to stop everything else I was doing in the world. I had to put away my phone, and I had to listen to the class so I could learn the information, because it was the only way. I didn't have it recorded. I didn't have it on video. I didn't have it on audio. I had it in my notes. And for the next 3 months, I had to study my notes. So if I wanted to learn anything and remember anything and check on anything while I was doing a deal over the next 3 months, I had to have good notes. It's the same thing applies here. And it doesn't mean that you have to go out and do a deal. It doesn't mean that you have to be in the middle of a deal to be talking to your warm market. And you've heard this before, I know this, but a lot of times we hear things and we know things, but we don't believe them because we're not being a part of them. So this is what I mean by this. When we say, you're studying the education and you talk to someone about it and you're like, oh, I just learned this, or this is what I just learned, or I just found this out, or I'm learning about this, right? Those are all, intriguing comments to people in your marketplace. But then when you can elaborate, like if you think about it, if you read something, or you watch a movie, or you watch the news, and then like if you listened to Woody last night, he wanted to learn about the owner of Direct Tire. So he did some research and he studied this guy on Google, and he read so he could talk almost in an expert manner about the guy from Direct Tire. And a lot of us didn't probably know some of those things about the guy from Direct Tire. I don't know if I'm even saying it right, Direct Tire. You know what I'm talking about. And so my point was that Woody didn't go out and start a tire company. Woody doesn't work for a tire company, but he studied about this guy, and he was able to speak on an expertise level, on an expert level to some degree about this information. And so, when you're having those conversations with people and you're talking about some news story you watched and then you did a little bit more research on it, you feel very confident in having the conversation with your warm market, with people you know and trust. And you're giving your opinion, you're stating some facts, and then you're following up with what you would do, perhaps some sort of story, and you're selling this to them. You're selling this news story based on your biased opinion of what you saw, what you heard, and what you learned. And it's the same thing here when you're selling Renatus. When you're introducing this, if you seriously have a grasp of the quality of education on any of the classes that we have, you can talk on an expert level to them, and you will be talking above them. You will be talking about things that they don't know about. And that is becoming a product of the product. That is enabling yourself to learn, to be able to talk to people in a way that they will be interested in what you're doing. And they will think higher of you. They will believe that you now have new knowledge. They will start to see the quality of the education that you're getting, and they will start to see the transformation you're making, even though you haven't done a deal. But because you have a different vocabulary, you have a different understanding, you have a different vision, you have a different opportunity, you have a different outlook on life, on finances, on real estate, based on the education that you're studying. And so that you can use to your advantage. That in itself is a marketing tool. And that's what Michael's talking about a lot of times when he says, I just learned this. It's not about going to an intensive and listening to the guy for a few minutes, and you got people in there and you're worried about your team and who's making sales and all these things, and you're fully engaged in the day, but you're not fully engaged in the education, and you're not learning anything new necessarily. I mean, these are the same things that's in your education. But I'm talking about when you go in home and you take an hour out of your day or 2 hours out of your night and you study the education. And you always hear me say this, and I tell it to all my new students, right? When they want to know what to do, and I give them a class that I recommend I would watch, right? And I tell them to call up Gavin and get the same advice from Gavin, or listen to whatever he has to say in their first call, and take a look at their resources, and then just tell me what they want to do. What's the most important real estate they want to do, whatever it is. When they're watching a class, it's not just about writing down questions, but it's literally writing down action steps. Like every section should have an action step to it that you write down that you would do and you would implement. And that doesn't mean going out and buying a house. But it may mean putting an app on your phone, right? It may be a comping tool. It may mean the velocity banking calculator. It may be writing out your own expenses. Maybe it's writing out each of your credit cards and what you owe and what their percentages are and things like that, and what their lines of credit. It could be just calling up the lines of credit right now and asking for increased lines or lower interest rates, right? All of the different things you could be doing, from the credit classes, the velocity banking classes, the financial literacy classes that we have. It's incredible how becoming a product of the product you can be without ever doing a deal. And so when we engage in the education, I'm surprised sometimes when people ask me questions in Renatus and on my own team and in the Scottsdale team and nationwide, when they're talking about questions about real estate. And I know from the question that two things happen. One is they most likely haven't seen the class. If they did, they weren't paying attention. And they definitely didn't write anything down, because they wouldn't have had that question, or they would have asked it in a context that would have made a lot more sense, if that makes sense to you guys. So if that's you, if you're not engaged, if you are multitasking in watching the education, you're doing yourself a disservice. Your time to a deal will be much longer. Your time to getting a deal done will be much longer. In fact, your risk of doing it wrong will be much higher. Like if you're interested in honestly doing more deals, or doing deals right, or making more money, or getting into your first deal in any way, shape, or form, I would listen to I went to the short sales class literally like 7 times, and it's a 2-day class back then, right? Just like it is now. And we didn't have curriculum passed like you do now. So things are set up for you to go to the right classes. Now, they did have it back then where they recommended different classes, but you had to schedule it around the way that it was. And I needed to make money. So I needed to get into the core classes immediately, right? Into the strategy itself. And so, I remember taking it a second or third or fourth time, and my wife, for one, and a few other people were like, Bill, why are you going to that class? Don't you know they have this class, they have multifamily, and they have, you could take, I'm going to take this class. I'm like, I'm not studying that. I'm like, I'm not practicing that right now. I got to learn the short sale. I've got to perfect it. I've got to get it down so that I can close one of these stupid things. And so, I went to it over and over and over again. And then in the car, I would listen to it over and over and over again, right? And I would listen to, or I'd go back to my notes and read my notes over and over and over again. It was a repetitive thing. It wasn't a one-time thing, and I was an expert in short sales. So the same thing here. If we're going to watch the class, we've got to watch it where we have no distractions. And if you get distraction, then just watch it in an hourly, in a segment, a 20-minute segment, a 30 an hour segment, whatever it is, and then go do what you need to do, and then come back to it. And maybe come back to it and watch that section again and fast forward through it if you have to, or whatever. Obviously, with the Helios coming out and the education in Helios, you'll be able to access things at a faster way. Fast forward and rewind through it quicker with keywords and all that stuff. So they're enhancing our ability to access the education through the Helios, and it's going to be amazing, right? All the things in Helios are just going to be fantastic, and we've got to be super grateful. In fact, $197 is a pretty cheap price for what we're getting, without a doubt. Now, here's a fact. Like I remember sitting in a bar. with a guy who was in the marketing of Renatus back in the day. And he used to be one of the national leaders at the time. I think he made, he was in that $400,000 range at one point on the high peak of his Renata sales in 2006 and 7. And I looked up to him. He was a friend of mine. He was a good marketer. And I remember sitting with him and having a scotch at the bar, and we were talking about it. And he really wanted the best for me. And he wanted me to get into the marketing more. And I remember him saying, you know, we talked about it all the time. And he said, Bill, he's like, with your story, with the real estate you do, I mean, you could just crush it in the marketing. You could just, you would be doing so good. You could be making money hand over fist. You could have all these people would just sign up because you're the product of the product, right? And most of you guys, when we start out, we believe that. And that's the thought. And that is the natural progression to understanding the marketing and thinking that when I get this done, when I get to this level, I'm going to be the best marketer. People are just going to want to join my team for that. Now, I'm not going to say it's not a benefit at all. That's stupid. But that whole myth is not true, right? That whole concept of, you know, if one person's doing more deals than the other person, their marketing potential is much greater. The reason I think this, and I believe it in my experiences, is that my experiences in real estate, along with thousands of other students across the country, those stories are the proof in the pudding when it comes to the Renatus education and what we're capable of doing. You know, if you haven't heard it, I'll tell it right now, and I don't know the exact details, but the story of and I use these guys because there's also tons of different velocity banking stories, but I just happen to know a little bit about this one, and they're in our group, and they really, to be honest, they don't even come to our meetings anymore, but you know, they're doing things the way they want to do them. And they, Dennis and Kathleen, they enrolled under Kevin. In fact, I think Dennis, believe it or not, was an instructor at the school that Michael went to for his degree for being an auto mechanic. And so Dennis and Kathleen got enrolled, and for their first year, they didn't do any deals. They worked on their credit, and they worked on velocity banking, and they worked on organizing their finances, and they decided to put themselves in a better position in the future so that they could do deals, so that they had their own money, so that they had their own credit, so that they had their own nest egg, that they had their own ability to be out of a situation that they were in, which most of us start in, which is just a financial disaster situation. And so in the first year, they actually paid off give or take $78,000 in debt without getting a second job. They both worked full-time jobs. They saved $36,000 in interest that they would have paid in that year or in future years from that debt that they paid off using velocity banking. Both of their credit scores went up by over 100 points. They put themselves in positions where their credit lines increased, and they now had the ability to fund deals and buy rentals and had credit that they could refinance the rentals. They both have W-2 jobs, which are good jobs. So now they have good income, and they have regular tax returns, and they have the ability to buy rental and refinance them. and that's what they're working on now. Now they're doing some lending, I think, and don't quote me on all this stuff, but my point is because I don't know their exact numbers and stories. I'm just telling you the majority of that to an extent is true on what they've been able to do in their first year. Now they're far into their second year with us or whatever it is, but and now they're doing deals. They bought their first property. I know that. They're partnered on some other properties and stuff, and they're just doing some cool things. And like anybody, but their journey is about the velocity banking in the first year and their financial literacy and understanding credit and all these different things. That is becoming a product of product. In fact, to me, that's more powerful than doing a flip in your first year and making 10 grand. They've set themselves up for a far greater financial future than the one guy who does a single flip or 2 wholesales in his first year. Now, if you're like me and you needed the money, that's one thing. And you're not interested in recapturing some of the money or saving some of the money. in the future, then it makes sense that you're going to go after doing your first deal and your first flip so you can make some ordinary income so you can have cash in the bank. I get it. But whatever the situation is, my point is that, these folks, these stories across the country that you learn and that you watch on YouTube and you see on the back office and you listen to on the national webinar. And if you're missing out on these things, you need to catch up on them, and you're getting them from your testimonies in your local communities at the meetings. You're going to the property tours. These stories are what sells the education. And I know you guys know stories sell, right? I know that tell the story is one of the biggest things, but I'm talking about you becoming a product of the product. I'm talking about the ability to market the company and as a real estate investor. Right. And so when we go back to what my guy said to me, although what he was trying to get across may have been true to some extent about the fact that I had done real estate and was successful and was, had done numerous deals and made 80 grand on one deal and stuff like that. Right. So the whole point to this is that my mindset was not there on the marketing. It doesn't matter that you do a deal. You're still the same person who's now done a deal. It doesn't make you a better marketer. It doesn't make you a better business owner. It doesn't make you more qualified to talk to someone and close somebody and follow up and do the money-making activities that Michael and Christian talk about all the time on this call and all your leaders talk about across the country. It just makes the fact that you did a real estate deal. But think about this. If your folks that you're inviting to the meeting, if they're hung up on their fear of whether or not they think they can do it, whether or not it'll work for them, whether or not they like you or the community, whether or not they believe that Renata's education, or whether they're confused, they don't have enough information. They've seen the marketing and the education and the real estate, and they don't know which way to go. If any of these things are true, and they're afraid of spending 20 grand, and they are afraid of not getting their money back, and they are afraid of it being debt and not an investment, if any of these things are true, they're gonna tell you that it's going to make a difference that you did a deal, but it's not going to make a difference. They are not going to make a decision to buy because you did a deal. It's not going to change. In fact, there are people that I know that struggle with people that have success. And so when they see someone who's done 100 deals, right? Or has 10 properties or whatever the case is, it almost becomes the exception. And they don't believe that could happen to them. It's unfathomable, right? When you're talking to someone who's making $3,000 a month and you're telling them you can make, that Michael Huggins makes $90,000 a month, it sounds great, but it's not who they are. $10,000 a month or $10,000 every 2 months, part-time, on the side, could change their life. That's something they can wrap their head around, right? So stories are told to folks based on what they're telling you. We create the intrigue. My ability to listen to what this guy was trying to tell me about the opportunity that I had based on the fact that I had done real estate and how great a marketer was. The holdup was the fact that I didn't believe in the marketing to that extent yet. I had done a little bit, as you guys remember, if you didn't know, I always did my warm market retail sales in my day-to-day business as an investor, as a product of the product. I would meet realtors, notaries, tradespeople, even buyers and sellers that were interested in doing what I was doing. And I would send them to a meeting and I would get paid a retail sale. And most of them, all of them, I never saw them again. I saw them again, but not at the meetings. They were never became a marketer. I wasn't building a team. They were simply a retail sale because they wanted the education. So there's that aspect. But as far as becoming a marketer and understanding the true wealth cycle that Bob created and what Renatus is really truly about, and the ability to capitalize on the events and the relationships of the property, it wasn't, what was missing was my training, the training that you guys are reaching out and getting, the calls that you're on now and all week long, and going to the meetings and then listening to the webinars and getting the training and becoming a marketer and getting the mindset. That's more powerful than any real estate investor who's done 100 deals. It's that training that you get in order to become the person that can share this information correctly with individuals. If you learn, when you learn, as you learn, and as you get better, and you practice more, and you fail more through no's and no's and no's, you will be able to deliver the message better, and you will be able to get through to people. And being a product of the product will be the fact that you go to the meetings, the fact that you've invested the money. I had somebody enroll by going to one event, right? Years back, went to one event. He was only at the intensive for half the time. And of course, I told him about it over the phone, but he had to leave. And I was like, crap. And I remember standing at the hallway, it's crazy, people running all over, and he's about to leave. I didn't want him to leave. I was trying to book a meeting from the meeting. And he goes, so you've done this? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, you paid the 20 grand? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, and it's working for you? I'm like, well, I haven't closed the deal, but I've got like 15 short sales in the pipeline. He's like, all right, come to my office on Monday. Let's figure it out and I'll get started. And that was it. And he started that Monday, put 20 grand on a credit card and got started. And it was because I had already done and led the path. It wasn't because I was doing a deal or I had done 100 deals, right? So when you are studying the education, when you have gone to the lengths that you had to go to decide on how you were going to fund the education, when you took the risk of 20 grand and invested it into yourself, when you borrowed the money or took out a HELOC or tapped into your 401k or did whatever it is you did in order to get funded, when you started to engage in these calls, when you started to engage in personal development, when you started to watch the classes and actually watch them and actually take notes and actually learn the material and then have the ability to apply the material and talk in an educated manner about the material, about the class, you've become a product of the product. You become a part of Renatus. There's nothing missing in your tool belt. When you start to do deals, or you do more deals than you've already done, or you start to acquire rental property, or you get more rentals than you already have, or you start to eliminate some of your bad rentals if you have them already, or whatever the things that you're going to start to do and that you continue to do and that you grow to do, you're not any more of a product than you were when you engaged in the product itself. All you are is a little bit more wealthy. All you are is you've made a little bit more money, and you've gained some experience. But it doesn't define you. It doesn't, at no point, if you understand me, at that time, will you be able to go, oh, now I can go market because I did a deal. Now I could tell someone. Because think about it. If we go and we just go to our friends and family and go, you know what, look at me now. Look, brother. My dear brother that said this is a joke. I did a deal. I made 20 grand. I mean, do you think that they're going to just open up their checking account and pay for the education right there? Very few, right? You're going to have to go back to that individual, create an intrigue, create a problem, present a solution, share with them the information, Tell your story now. You could tell your story about your fix and flip or your wholesale deal or your rental property. Maybe you can tell your story about your velocity banking. You paid off a loan or whatever you did, or you reduced your debt by whatever. Your credit score went up. Tell whatever stories you want, and then you're going to follow up with them and you're going to ask for the sale. But it's going to be the exact same process. Nothing's going to change because you did a deal or 100 deals. I don't get to go out and get on the phone with people and they call me off my Craigslist ad, right? I mean, think about this. I work with anywhere from 15 to 20 trades on any given fix and flip at a time, right? I've got a floor guy, a demo guy, right? A handyman. I got a painter. I got a window guy. I got a glass guy. I got a roof guy, AC guy, electric guy, plumbing guy, cabinet guy, countertop guy, right? I got a landscape guy. I got a realtor. I got a title company, right? So every single deal, you would think that if this was the case, they have been working on my houses for 10 freaking years. And if it was true that you had to be 100 deals, 50 deals, 10 deals in order to close business, every one of these folks would be part of Renatus. They've seen me make hundreds and millions of dollars over the last 10 years doing real estate. But they're not a part of it. I've invited my plumber 1,000 times to the meeting. My electrician never come. Now, my door and window guy is a part of it, right? He's enrolled. Many of my tradespeople have come from Renatus. They've enrolled before they met me. But my title gals, they've all been to my events. None of them enrolled. My realtor, as you know, was enrolled in the education. This is cool. Keely says, I have achieved 5-star by cold market, having done 0 deals. If I can do it, you can do it too. That is totally true. That is totally true. And many people. Amanda Miller, Bill, you nailed it. People don't just enroll because you do deals. And Amanda and Brandon know this. That's actually definitely true. They're doing deals. It's people enroll with us because the system's in place and we learn how to market the right way. And I still have to market to all these individuals. I have to follow up all the time with my plumber. And every day he's like, post something on Facebook, or he complains to me about this, or he's so stressed out about this tax. He started his own business. He no longer works under another guy's license. He's getting his license, but he doesn't know how to do his taxes. I mean, every solution, every possible scenario comes up with him, and I can't get it. I haven't gotten him to the meeting. And he knows what I'm making. When I pay him $1,500 to $4,000 to plumb a house, he knows almost always a rough estimate of what I make when I sell the house. 15, 20, 30, 40,000. He knows it. Yet he doesn't come to the meeting to see what it's all about. My general contractor came to the meeting. He's not enrolled. Right? So you guys get the point. The opportunity for you, in my opinion, in my experience, is that you guys are doing it right. You get on the calls, you attend the events. In between, study the education and study it on purpose and study it with purpose. Study it with intent. You will apply the education because it will become second nature to you. You will get it. It's taught in a way that you will learn it and you will be able to apply it. And what's going to help you apply it is the relationships you build at the events that you go to. And I know most of you already know this, but as you bring on new students, and some of you that are new students on this phone, on this webinar, you guys, that is the key, is that the relationships you build will increase your ability to become a product of the product. But know this, that you are a product of the product right from the beginning, when you have done what it takes to invest the 20 grand. And then you've done what it takes to become an IMA. And then you've done what it takes to get on these calls. and then you've done what it takes to get in front of the education. But if you are not getting in front of the education on purpose with intent and watching a class over and over and finding out a path, figuring out which classes you want to watch so that you can study them and that you can apply them, we don't need to watch 50 classes to understand this education. Watch the classes, in my opinion, and talk to your 5-star and your coach. So don't listen, don't take it word for word, but in my opinion, watch the classes that are going to pertain to what you want to do right now. When a deal comes along that changes up and it's land or it's multifamily or it's some kind of class that you need, then go watch that class. And before you do anything, watch the class over and over again before you act on the deal, right? Don't act on the deal and then try to do a fix and flip by watching the class, because you probably missed something, if that makes sense. All right, Chris says very encouraging, you guys. All right, cool. So if anybody doesn't have any, if no one has any questions or thoughts or comments, you guys, I appreciate you guys listening. I've got 8:57. And so I just wanted to share with you guys that everybody here is on the same playing field, no matter what they've done. And, you know, when I got back in Renatus in 2016 in the marketing side of things, it was about March of 2016. So it's been 2.5 years. You're welcome, Amy. I'll tell you, you would think that I would have just been able to call somebody up and say, listen, over the last 8 years, I've done 125 deals. I've made, you know, multiple 6-figure years, blah, 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 done all this stuff. I got all these doors. Come sign up. Doesn't work that way, guys. Doesn't work that way. The way it works is the way you're doing it. But becoming the product of the product does not mean you have to do a deal. Becoming a product of the product, it means you understand the product. You engage in it. You learn it. And then you apply it. You simply practice it. You have application, and you can talk about it intelligently with confidence, like Michael was talking about yesterday. And then that will prove beyond measure to other people the power of the Renatus opportunity. And they will then believe that they can do it. And they will not care a lick about what you've done. They will only care about what they think they can do. And that's how you'll close business. Thank you, Raphael. I appreciate you, brother. Ravi, awesome. Amy, thank you. Miranda, I just really appreciate you guys as much as you guys appreciate what I say. It means a lot to hear from you guys, and I appreciate you being on the call. You could be doing a lot of other things in the morning, and Elsie, you're so welcome. I'm grateful for you as well. Thanks a lot, you guys. I got 9 o'clock, 9:01. Make it a great day. Do whatever it takes. You got my number, 760-533-3141 if you need me. And I can't type 3141. There you go. So there's my cell, you guys. Thanks a lot for everything. Make it a great day. I will cancel out the meeting. But thanks for being here. I'll see you guys on the phone for tomorrow and Thursday for Michael and Christian. You guys are awesome. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy holidays. I'll see you next week.